to this activity, which is about graph transformations. So here the question is graph each of the functions using the graph of the function f below. So we have a graph of a function f, which is drawn here, and we defined a new function y equals f of x plus 2. And if you take a look on this, you have the plus 2 outside of the expression of the original function f of x. So in this case, it's a shift up 2 units. The transformation is a shift up 2 units. So it's easy now to graph the new function. You just shift the graph here 2 units up. So this segment here becomes, I will use my line tool, becomes here. Okay? This point, when it's shifted up 2 units, becomes here, and you just join the 2 segments. And same thing here, if you shift this point 2 units up, you will get this. Okay? So this is the new graph. Now we move to the next one. In the next one, we have y equals f of x plus 2, but be careful, the plus 2 here is inside the function, okay? So in this case, it's a shift to the left 2 units, okay? If you have f of x transformed to f of x plus a, it's a shift to the left when I say x plus a inside the brackets, okay? It's a shift left 2 units, okay? Now we're gonna try to draw this. So we're gonna shift, for example, this point, okay, 2 units to the left, and we're gonna obtain a new point here. Okay? Same thing for this point. If you shift it 2 units, you're gonna obtain this. If you shift this point 2 units left, you're gonna obtain this point. And if you shift this original point to the left 2 units, you're gonna obtain this. So now it's easy to graph the function. You just draw the segments here. Okay, and you have your new graph, okay, which is the original one shifted to the left 2 units. Okay, we can continue with the next question. Here we have the new function y equals negative f of x. So we added this minus sign, and when you have a minus sign which is added to the whole expression of the original function, then it's a reflection with respect to the x-axis, okay? So it's a reflection in the x-axis. Okay, so it's just like a mirror here, okay? So we're gonna draw the reflected graph, okay? So this segment here, which is above the x-axis by 1 unit, becomes here. Okay, I will use the red color, becomes here. Okay, this point becomes here. It's moved here, and this point is moved here, and you just join the points to the segment, okay? So it's reflected in the x-axis. Now we can move to the next one, which is y equals 2 times f of x. So we're gonna multiply our output by 2. And when it's multiplied by 2, it's a stretch 2 units, okay? So we'll try to draw this clearly, okay? So it's a stretch 2 units by 2 units, not 2 units, by 2, because we're gonna multiply by 2. So it's stretched by 2. And here, to stretch this graph by 2, we're gonna try to put some special points. We draw some special points, okay? So we're gonna start with the most right one here. So for this input, you have -1 for y. If you multiply by 2, you will obtain -2. So I will draw the new points with the red color. For this point, the input is 1 and the output is 1. So if it's multiplied by 2, it becomes here. Same thing for this point. If it's multiplied by 2, it becomes here. And for this negative value of the output, which corresponds to -1, if it's multiplied by 2, it becomes here. Now, you try to join these points with segments, and you will get this new graph, which is the original one stretched by 2. Okay? Now, we can move to the next question, in which y equals 0.5 times f of x. So here we multiply by half the original function. So since the term which is multiplied by f of x, or the value which is used here for the multiplication, is between 0 and 1, it's not a stretch, it's a shrink. Okay? So it's a shrink by half. Okay? By 0.5. Okay? Now we try to draw the new graph. So for this negative output, which corresponds to -1, it becomes -half. Okay? So it becomes here. Same thing for this value, it becomes here. Okay? Now the 1 becomes 0.5. So let's try to draw it, even if it's small here. So here, and if you draw your segments, you will get this, approximately this new graph, which is the original one, okay, multiplied by 0.5, so it's a shrink by 0.5, okay? Now, we're gonna move to the last one, which is a combination of many operations, okay? We're gonna start slowly. So, our function f of x first is transformed to f of x minus 1. This is the first operation. To get the final expression here, we'll do it by steps, okay? So first of all, you subtract 1 from x, so which corresponds to a shift right, okay? Remember that when it's f of x plus a, it's a shift left, okay? When it's f of x minus a, with a positive, of course, it's a shift right. So here, it's right 1 unit, okay? Now, we're gonna move to the second operation. So after doing this, we're gonna multiply by -1, okay? Pay attention here. You have to multiply by this negative sign before doing your last operation, which is +3, okay? Because the negative sign is applied only on this expression here, okay? So we're gonna multiply by -1. So it becomes f of x, negative f of x minus 1. And this operation corresponds to a reflection in the x-axis, okay? And finally, we'll apply a +3 for the whole expression obtained previously, okay? So we'll obtain negative f of x minus 1 plus 3. And this operation here corresponds to a shift up 3 units, okay? Shift up 3 units. So our final graph will be in green, okay? The intermediate graphs I will draw here will be in red for the right 1 unit and in blue for the reflection in the x-axis. So I will do this slowly. Right 1 unit. So we're gonna move right 1 unit. Okay, we'll obtain this graph. Okay, now to the red one, we'll apply a reflection in the x-axis. So it's easy here. We'll do it in blue. So we're gonna reflect these points. Okay, this point becomes here. This point is here, moved here. This point will be moved here, and the last one will be moved here. And you join your points. Now, after doing this operation, we'll finish by applying a shift up 3 units to the blue graph, okay? So we're gonna use the green color. So if you shift up 3 units this point, you will obtain this new one, okay? If you shift up this point 3 units, you will obtain a point here. If you shift up this point, you will obtain a point here. And the last one, okay, which is here, shifted up 3 units, it becomes here, and you can draw your final graph. Okay, so the green graph here represents the graph of y equals negative f of x minus 1 plus 3. Okay? Thank you for your attention and see you in the next videos.